Hi, it's Makaela here. Thanks for listening to my podcast. What you're about to listen to is an old episode of my podcast, The Midlife Awakening, which has now been replaced with the Deliberately Transformed Woman podcast. You'll still find some golden takeaways in these old episodes, but if you're the type of person who wants to discover and let go of the things that are holding you back in life by busting through fear and procrastination, overcoming imposter syndrome, and stepping into a life that is fulfilling, courageous, and intentional, then my new podcast episodes, starting from episode 21, are the ones you're looking for. You're listening to episode 7 of the Midlife Awakening podcast with Makaela Moore. Welcome to the Midlife Awakening podcast. I'm Makaela Moore, your host and certified transformation coach. I'm a 40-something woman who nerds out on brain science and believes every woman should be financially independent. This podcast is for women navigating their midlife who want to learn the secrets to unlocking their brain and freeing themselves from everything that holds them back so they can create lasting change in their lives, because everything is possible. Join me each week for conversations about the midlife and tips and tricks to hack your subconscious brain so you can deliberately transform your life and ultimately create your own financial security. First time here? Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Enjoy! Hey, welcome to episode 7. I hope you are all thriving, which is kind of my topic today. Are we just surviving, or are we really thriving in life? So I was talking to my bestie a few days ago, and we got into some deep conversation, as we tend to do. She wasn't feeling in a very happy place with a few things, and to be honest, she just felt like she was going through the motions of life, and she felt like she was on this hamster wheel. Her kids were being kids and challenging her and causing all sorts of frustration, and she's feeling frustrated in a job that's also causing her anxiety. And, there's a few other areas of her life that are causing her frustration and pain and anger and anxiety and a whole lot of resentment. Obviously, I'm not going to talk, I'm not going to go into detail of her personal life, but she does know I'm talking about her this week. It's safe to say that right now, there's a fair bit of negativity dragging her down at home and at work. And I'm guessing that she's not the only one feeling all the feels and all the pressures of modern day life. Everything these days seems to be so much faster than we've ever known before. Life just seems way more complicated than it used to. Almost like we're in this pressure cooker and everyone's just waiting for that lid to burst off, and when it does, it's going to be accompanied by a flood of tears at bare minimum. It's all basically because our brains were not designed to cope with information overload. They were not designed to deal with all the technology at our fingertips and the fast-paced life that technology has both blessed and cursed us with. And the sensory overload, our brains are so fried, we don't even realize it. I think a lot of women feel that they're supposed to be perfect parents, raising perfect kids in perfect homes with perfect meals and perfect everything. And because we are not, in fact, perfect, we feel that we're failing at life. You only have to watch an episode of, like a show like Real Housewives or something to feel that we're just imperfect and we're failing at life. And I've just got to say, they are not Real Housewives. Just saying. Everything like that we see on TV or social media is weighing on our subconscious and leaving us feeling less than. And honestly, you've got to know this. If this is the only thing you take away from today's podcast, it is this. There is no such thing as perfect. Perfect does not exist. Think about it. What is perfect anyway? There is no yardstick to measure perfect. What you might think of as perfect could be very different to my version of perfect. So who's to say who's perfect is right or wrong? There is no perfect. And even if there was, why would we need to be perfect? We do not need to be perfect to be successful at anything in life. We do not need to be perfect to be loved or to do our jobs well or to raise our kids well. We do not need to be perfect to be worthy and accepted and enough. We all just need to remember Mark Darcy's famous line when he said to Bridget Jones, "I love you just as you are." So to get back to our busyness of life though, do you feel like you are just on autopilot every day and just surviving life? Are you going through the daily motions with the mad morning rush, out the door, getting the kids off to school, getting yourself to work or back home to do the housework or whatever it is that, you do as your part of your daily routine? Are you going through the motions of the morning, noon and night rituals and then falling into a heap each night wondering what the hell it was all for? Are you spending your weekends working or cleaning the house or running your kids around in mum's taxi? Did you make any time for yourself amongst that? Have you done anything out of the ordinary recently? Like, when was the last time you truly had a good belly laugh where your sides hurt and your tear ducts burst? Are you living the life you dreamed of when you were younger? Actually, here's a really good question for you. Do you even remember what your dreams were for your future self when you were younger? I'm guessing that you may not even recall what they were. Or if you do, they feel like they're so far out of reach that you don't even bother thinking about them because you need to be thinking about all your day-to-day things and what chores need to be done and who needs to be picked up, when, and, what you need to buy at the supermarket. We all get stuck in ruts and we get very comfortable in them. We see that there is a life outside of that rut and it looks very beautiful and exciting, but our rut is comfortable and our rut is predictable, and that is just the way our brains like it, comfortable and predictable. I talked a lot about dreaming big in episode 4, so I'm not going to cover a lot of that again today, but what I will say is that we have one life, and if you're anything like me, you feel like it's going by way too quickly. 1 minute, we're 20-somethings trying to figure out our own life, and then the next minute, we're 40-somethings sorting out our kids' lives. My point here is that if we choose to stay in the comfort and the predictability of our rut, we are never going to get to the beauty and the fun and the excitement that lies on the other side of our rut. As I'm recording this episode, there are only 77 days left of this decade. Just let that sink in. Another decade of our lives is done and dusted. Another decade of our lives of just surviving and not particularly thriving is just about to end. Us humans are really good at putting things off until tomorrow. But the only moment that truly ever exists for us is this moment right now. There is no past or future. Only ever the present moment exists for us. So we need to make the most of each moment as and when it happens. Live each moment with purpose, intention, and joy and gratitude. So, going back to my conversation with my bestie this week, after she vented her frustrations to me, we talked about quite a few things. Firstly, we talked about finding gratitude in even the simplest things in your day. That beautiful first cup of coffee in the morning. Breathe it in. Feel the warmth of it in your mouth running down to your belly. Smell and taste it at the same time. Breathe it in like it's the elixir of life. Cup your hands around that cup like it was literally life in your hands. Enjoy that coffee like it was going to be your last. Be truly thankful that in this moment, life feels perfect. And as you are thinking and feeling and truly enjoying your coffee, I'll bet you didn't once think about the fact that the kids hadn't packed their school bags yet. You just let go of everything in that moment of gratitude and let life be. You were simply in a state of being grateful. And when you're in those moments, they feel truly wonderful. Now, it may not be a cup of coffee. It can be anything you want. But creating that moment of peace for yourself brings you into that joyful present moment, and you can't then say that moment was wasted. It's like a little brain reset. Your mood lifts and you are simply at peace. Your brain in that moment is also thanking you for shutting down the chatter for that moment. So you and it can just be. We are human beings, not human doings. This is why meditation is so important for humans, so that we can stop the incessant mental chatter and connect with ourselves and our energies and the energies of the universe. Now, my friend does have a problem at home with a husband who is a bit of a hoarder. It drives her mental, and rightly so. Despite her attempts at getting skip bins in to clear out shit while he's been away, he still brings so much crap back into the house. And this physical clutter is not only cluttering up her house, but it is cluttering up her mind. And when she was venting her frustration at that once again the other day, I simply said to her, grab that cup of coffee for dear life and find something in your house that does give you some joy. Or at least something in your house that you can truly appreciate. Now, for some of us, that's easy to find something specific to find gratitude in, but for her in that moment, it wasn't. So we took it back to some real basics, like simply being truly grateful that she had a house to live in, where the kitchen and bathroom functioned, and it kept them safe at night. That was it. We just kept it at the basics. I stopped at asking her to be grateful that it gave her husband a place to store his copious amounts of stuff. Us humans tend to overthink things and we overcomplicate things in life. We have no idea that we are until we do see it. And then once you've seen yourself doing it, it's hard to unsee. So when humans feel stuck in a rut, it's so very easy to look elsewhere for reasons or places or people to blame. As little girls, we are told fairy tales about being rescued by a knight in shining armour. Every single fairy tale had a male coming to the rescue of the damsel in distress. We have grown up believing that we would someday be saved, that a man would come into our lives and make everything better, and that we were not completely responsible for our own lives, because we would give ourselves to our husband and he would save us or support us or keep us. Oh God, even just saying keep us gives me chills, as if we are an object up for grabs. And another thing that these fairy tales have taught us is that with someone coming to save us, it essentially taught us that we couldn't save ourselves. It essentially taught us that we couldn't do things for ourselves. But it's so wrong. For too long, too many women have simply survived in their life. They are not thriving. They are not taking life by the horns and giving it a red-hot crack. They're settling for lives of mundane and living in a rut. Many of them have actually convinced themselves that they are happy and want to be in that rut. But are you? Have you ever, even just once, asked yourself if there is more to life than this, whatever this is for you? I can guarantee you that you have thought of that at least once. We all make choices in life. Getting stuck in a rut has actually been a choice, even if you don't think it is. When you see people complaining about their horrible job, they have chosen to be in it or to stay in that job. They could also choose to leave the job and choose to make changes in their life. Many women spend a lot of time complaining about their husbands or partners. Firstly, they're choosing to complain, but secondly, they're choosing to be with that person They are choosing to be in that relationship, and often they're choosing not to leave. Everything we do or don't do in life is a choice. For me, I had a very slow realization about something. I have been overweight since an accident I had about 12 years ago. No matter what I did, I couldn't lose the weight. And then I had a baby and things got worse. I was trying to make all these changes, but nothing worked. If someone had told me that I was choosing to be overweight, I probably would have slapped them silly. But ultimately, I was choosing it. In every glass of wine I drank, I was choosing it. In every little naughty bite of food here and there, I was choosing it. In every moment that I wasn't exercising or doing something positive for my body, I was choosing it. This is a very real, raw topic for me right now because this massive realization is recent. I'm not going to sit here and say to you that, if you do this, you're going to lose weight like I did, because I haven't lost the weight yet. I've lost some, but still a lot to go. I will probably do an episode on this in the future when I have more to report, but for now, I know that I have subconsciously chosen to be overweight, and I never, ever thought I would say that. The reason that most people don't lose weight, or they do and then they put it back on, is because they're making all these changes on the outside, but on the inside, in their subconscious brain, they are still the same person inside that they were before. And they will always be, on the outside, what their identity is on the inside. So if I get back to the surviving versus thriving, do you feel like you're thriving in your life? Are you achieving goals? Are you even setting goals? Are you doing the things that bring you peace and joy and complete fulfillment? Are you living your life's purpose? If none of those were a hell yeah, then chances are you're just surviving in your day-to-day routine, and you're quite possibly bored with life and quite possibly relying on others to come to your rescue and make life better somehow. Everyone wants to ultimately be happy. Have you thought about what it would take to truly make you happy? Just sit and think about that for a moment. What would make you truly happy in life? Now, if your answer included anything material, or it involved money, or relied upon someone else doing something for you to be happy, then you're wrong. For us to be happy, all we need to do is decide to be happy, and then just be happy. It is so damned simple, but so overlooked. Think back to savouring that beautiful cup of coffee that you were full of gratitude for. Were you happy in that moment? Yep, because you chose to be. You filled yourself with so much gratitude and so much love for that coffee that you basically had no option but to be happy. Happiness is our human default setting. When we're born, apart from being hungry, tired, or needing a nappy change, babies are by default happy creatures. It's just all the thoughts and beliefs that we're programmed with as we grow up that alter that. Have you ever looked at an image of a child in a third world country and thought, wow, how can they look so happy when they lack so much? The reason is because they don't know any different. They don't know what all the material things in life are like, and they can still be happy without them. You don't need the money or the material things to make you happy. But when you are happy, those things are going to be naturally attracted into your life. So when I suggested to my friend that she make some specific changes in her life, she said, yeah, that's all well and good, but you know how it is, nothing ever sticks, you just end up where you started. And I know what she means, because every diet I ever went on, nothing stuck. Every exercise routine I ever started, nothing ever stuck long term. And this all comes down to habits. Once we're in a habit, they are harder to break. So, think of all your habits, both good and bad. Do you brush your teeth every morning? Do you check your phone 1,000 times a day? Do you, leave your dirty dishes on the sink, or do you put them in the dishwasher? Are you in the habit of picking up after everyone else in the house? Are you in the habit of having a piece of chocolate at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? All these things are habits, and mostly ones that we don't even think about. We've just been doing them for so long that we do them on autopilot. Much like a lot of our life, really, on autopilot without much thought about it. So, if it's so easy to do these things when they are habits, why is it hard to stick to other things? And the answer to that is that in most cases, the new habit that you're trying to create is a change on the outside and not a change on the inside where your identity lies. For me, a prime example of this is exercise. I was never a sporty kid. I hated sport and exercise. I avoided it at all costs in school, and I've never really done any long-term exercise regime. I didn't come from a sporty family either, so it just wasn't a thing, and we were never encouraged as kids to participate in any kind of sport or to get active at all. So I grew up with this subconscious belief that exercise was a foreign thing. So when I was pushed to do some exercise at school, which, it was usually like the school cross country or something where I had to go from zero exercise to running 5 kilometres, well, it's no wonder my brain tried to resist it even more then. In a nutshell, exercise was never part of my identity. And because it's not part of my identity, any changes I make in my external world are not going to stick in my internal world. So before we can do or have the things that we want, we have to be the person who does and has those things. And that is our core identity. We can create anything we want in life, and we all have choices in life. We can choose our thoughts, and we can choose how we respond to situations. By raising our level of consciousness, taking a bird's eye view of our life from up above, rather than being stuck in the muck, we can step into our higher selves and create new realities. So much of creating a shinier life for ourselves comes down to these things here. Number 1, decide what the heck you want. It's so simple. Without the destination, you will never have any idea of where you're going. This doesn't have to be huge life-changing decisions right now. If it feels better for you to make smaller decisions to start with, then do that. Remember, there will be resistance, and your subconscious brain will tell you that you shouldn't be dreaming so big. But, do dare to dream big. Number 2, stop overthinking things in your head. Get out of your head. Take that 50-foot overview of any situation. Remember, everything is a story in our life. So even as I say all of this, you are telling yourself stories about what I'm saying. Stories about why you can't think big or make changes. Stories about what you're thinking. And now you're telling yourself a story about all the stories as I speak. As my coach tells us, just stop it. Number 3, when it comes to a fear of judgment, again, stop overthinking things. What other people do think of you is none of your business, and it makes not an ounce of difference to you anyway. Besides, they're too busy thinking about themselves and their own life and their own fear of judgment that they're probably not actually thinking about you at all anyway. Or maybe they are, and maybe they're totally admiring you from afar. Number 4, take responsibility for your thoughts, your words, your actions, your reactions, your whole life basically. No one is coming to save you except you. I am going to do a whole episode on this soon, so that will probably help with that little brain implosion that you just had then. Number 5, discover what is truly important to you in life. Not what you think should be important, but what actually is important to you. These will be your core values, and our values are our biggest motivators in life. Number 7, create some new habits in your life. They don't need to be big things, just super simple things like drinking an extra glass of water a day, a 10-minute walk at lunch, putting your shoes away as soon as you take them off, making lunches the night before, popping the dishwasher on each morning before leaving the house. Whatever it is, just make it something that you can do and can create a habit out of. With each new habit and each new choice you make, you are priming your brain to fire off new neural pathways and effectively upgrade its software. And with each new choice you make towards your future self, there will be less and less resistance from the brain over time. Number 8, take some time to do some things for yourself. I think that bears repeating. Take some time to do some things for yourself. Us women are terrible at doing that, and we need to get better. Now, these don't have to be big or expensive things, just joyful things. It could be simple things like a walk in the park while listening to your favourite podcast. Hopefully that's mine. Or a trip to the beach, or cooking yourself a nice breakfast, sneaking away for an hour with a good book and a pot of tea, keeping a journal of your thoughts and feelings and ideas, walking barefoot around your yard, digging your toes into the plush grass. Declutter some cupboards or the spare room and create a space of joy and peace just for you. Whatever it is, just make it a moment of peace and joy for you. My 2 personal favourites are daily meditation and catching up with one of my besties for a very long coffee or lunch date and just loving up on each other and absorbing each other's love and positive energy and loads of laughter, loads and loads of laughter. Catching up with my girlfriends, it just really, really fills my cup and gives me more joy than I can even describe. So find what fills your cup and go make it a priority, because you deserve a happy, peaceful, joyful, and fulfilling life where you are thriving and not just surviving. We all do. That's all for this week. If you'd love to connect with me further, head over to my Instagram page. It's at makaela.more, where I love interacting with you all. Actually, I'd also love it if you'd jump over there and leave a comment with your key takeaways from today's episode. I can't wait to hear from you. Thanks for listening. And that, my beautiful friends, is another episode of The Midlife Awakening. If you'd like more inspiration or to connect with other midlifers, head on over to my Facebook group, Deliberately Transformed. You'll find the link in the show notes. Until next time, cheers.